Hello, everybody. Nick Jaafar coming to you from the Realtors Roundtable. This is episode 4. Today, we are blessed and honored to have estate and probate attorney Hameed Dakroub. Hameed, thank you for joining us.
No, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. So, everyone knows Hameed as the probate guy, the estate guy, the lawyer on TCD, on the radio. I want to start today by kind of getting to know Hameed the way we know Hameed.
All right.
I know you on a personal level. So,
of course.
Hameed, you did not grow up in Michigan your whole life, correct? Mm-hmm. You went to California for a little bit. You want to start there?
Yeah. So I was born in California, Southern California. And everyone's like, man, what'd you do here? Why'd you move here, right? It's my dad's job. Dad, blaming you, okay? So, first 5 years spent in Cali. And then moved here when I was 5 years old. And then went to elementary school, middle school, and then freshman year of high school in Crestwood. After that, my dad got another opportunity to go back to California again for his job. He worked for GM, and so we ended up going back to California again.
Were you excited or were you nervous? Because you're going to high school, man. That's, you're excited.
Yeah. So it was both, right? It's exciting to go back to California. My mom's family's in California, so it was fun from that perspective of seeing my family, my relatives. But going to 3 different high schools was tough, different challenges. I mean, you're going through a completely different state, different lingo. I mean, I remember one time I had like a funny experience at, the high school that I went to the first time that I moved to California. And I remember I was getting introduced to a group of people. And there's one of the friends in the group was like, hey, what's your name? And I told her my name. She goes, homie? Like Hameed. Instead, she goes, I said, okay, fine, whatever. Like my name's been butchered before, but I get it. But you're in Dearborn or you're in Michigan, you don't get that, butchering too often. You know what I mean?
Nick Jaafar.
So
a substitute T-shirt for that.
But what was funnier is what happened right after the fact. And then somebody else was standing next to her, and she looked at that person. And she goes, do you know this person? She goes, no, I don't know this fool. And I'm like, fool? Like, who you calling a fool? I don't even know you, right? Little did I know, the word fool is like bro.
It is
for Dearborn, right? And I started realizing that later on. Now, I didn't want to say anything. First day of school, I'm just, talking to people, and this one random girl calls me a fool, and I'm like, man, what the heck is going on? Like, I mean, where did I move to,
Yeah.
And then later did I realize that fool is just like AKA bro. Like, what's up, bro? No, I don't know this guy, or I don't know this bro. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Funny.
So I was like, wow, that was a nice rude awakening, but it was a good adjustment. I mean, first time got to California, went to one school for one semester, and then left and went to the school that I finished off my high school career. So,
okay.
Yeah.
How did that compare to Dearborn?
Wow. So Dearborn is like its own little bubble, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that it's own little bubble in so many different industries, right? But California, what's cool is it's so diverse, and it's so diverse to the point where everybody is hanging out together in a diverse type of group setting. So like my best friends, I had, an African-American best friend. I had a Mexican best friend. I had a Caucasian best friend. I had, a Filipino best friend. I mean, it was literally, and then we were all best friends together. So it wasn't like, it was like a group, and it's really cool to see that diversity. So that was, one of the cool things that I loved. Obviously the weather. I mean, you have so much accessibility to the beach, and, you go to wherever you want to go. It's there for you. I mean, the thing that sucks is the traffic, but like some of the little things that I liked about California, that they have it here, but in other cities, that's not like Dearborn. I mean, it's for something simple, like you get to a signal light, and then, if it senses if nobody's on the other side, it'll switch green for you right away.
Really?
You don't have to wait the whole signal light. So those are the little things that obviously like were pretty cool about it. So it was great. It was a good time.
So after high school, did you stay there at all, or did you move back right after high school?
No, so right after high school, my dad wanted to move us back, to be around our community, culture-wise and things like that. And so he took a buyout with GM, came back here, and then I started undergrad here back in Dearborn. So
awesome.
Yeah.
When you started undergrad, did you know you wanted to be a lawyer right away?
I know I didn't want to do med. So the other option, sometimes we're groomed, in our community, you have to be an engineer, an attorney, a businessman, or, you know what I mean? And one of the things was an attorney, and I looked at that and I was like, I don't want to do anything medically related. I don't like medicine. And so law, I didn't even know what I wanted to be as an attorney. So I said, you know what, at least the field of law will give me a different background of different types of options of what I can choose to become what I want to specialize in. I mean, even when I was in law school and I got to law school, I still didn't know what I wanted to be. And when I graduated, I didn't even know I wanted to be an attorney at the time as well, too. I mean, this was like, it wasn't until later on where I kind of found my calling a little after graduation.
Okay, after graduation of college or high school?
No, it was actually graduating law school.
Really?
I went to law school not knowing I wanted to be a practicing attorney, only because I didn't want to go to medicine.
Really?
Yeah, only because I knew that it would give me potentially other options. Like I know I went to consulting. I could have, worked for a corporation and, been maybe in-house counsel. I didn't have to practice. I could open up my law firm. I could, work at a law firm. I could work, in politics if I wanted to go that route. I could become a professor. So I was like, okay, it gave me different opportunities to choose a path instead of like, let's say, for example, going to like, dental school and becoming just like a dentist, right? Not to say that you can't do other things at the dentist. No, but I mean, obviously, like
it's not as vague.
It's not as vague. Yeah. It's not as big when it comes
as
to
a JD.
A JD where you could do multiple different like careers, not just like your actual day-to-day job and stuff like that.
Which is awesome. Not a lot of people know that. Like people think lawyer, they think courtroom, they think courtroom or law. Or a specific lawyer, but there's a lot you could do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about the field is that there's a lot that you can do. Just being just an attorney, you're on a day-to-day basis, you're helping people out, right? And that's also so important as well too, is just being able to connect with so many people with such different backgrounds, and everybody has their own story, and your job is to just help assist them and guide them down what you feel is in their best interest, by keeping their goals in mind, of course.
100%. That's so. I truly believe someone who's good at something is good at everything. I think someone like you, and I mean this, would be good at anything you did, because you just hit on something very, very important. You said two things. Everyone has a story, which they do, and if you focus on their goals, you can help them.
Yeah,
and that's why you have so many referrals, because everybody has a story. You just have to figure out their goals, which is so important in any line of work.
Yeah.
Whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a consultant, you're in politics, you're a business person, real estate, whatever it is, that's so important.
Oh, yeah.
In reality, so I met a guy at a closing the other day, and he said, we're not in the real estate business, we're in the people business.
Sure.
He said, people make a big problem out of things because they think they're in this business or that business.
Oh, yeah.
He said, the roof is collapsing. You have to talk to a contractor. You have to talk to the city. You have to talk to the inspector. You have to talk to everybody. You're in the people business. If you know how to communicate with those individuals and you figure out how to relate to them, then you're just in the people business. You are as well.
Absolutely.
Which is very good the way you look at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I try to pride myself, because a lot of times in my field, I get asked a question, which is very fair, okay, what are your prices? What do you charge for a will? What do you charge for a trust? And all these things. And I tell them, I said, look, I can give you a range of prices, right? But the idea here is, let me talk to you first and understand your situation. Your situation might be different than your neighbor's situation, right? So I'm not the type of guy that I'm going to just try to throw you into an estate plan or to help solve your legal matter in a way that benefits just me, just to make my life a little bit easier. My job and what I like to pride myself on is pure customization and detail oriented, in order to make sure that the client's goals are met, right? So I want to get to know what your goals are. I want to understand, obviously over the years, you start refining your techniques and your questioning to kind of get to it a little bit more efficiently, to kind of, save time in that regard. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're tackling the issues at hand. So you'll come to me and you'll talk to me, and I have to ask you certain questions to be able to narrow the focus as to where your plan should be, right? But your plan might be different than, your brother's plan, might be different than your friend's plan, might be different than whoever's plan, right? And so that's what I like to pride myself on, is the fact that this is like customization. A lot of times clients will come in and they'll see like a big binder, like, oh my gosh, this whole thing is for me. It's like, absolutely. I mean, you paid for it, but at the same time, I didn't just do something to keep it, it's just easy, straightforward for me. If it's easy and straightforward that can fit for you, then we'll do it. Obviously, save money, save time, But as long as that accomplishes your goal, right? And then, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're tackling each client's issue at hand to make sure that we're giving them the best possible representation.
100%. Tomorrow we have a team meeting, and number one thing that I want to go over is not one size fit all. One size does not fit all.
It's true.
Whether it's in a market like this,
Sure.
we're dealing with 10, 15 offers. I went to a house today. The lady was opening the door. She said we had 20 showings. The house started at 8. It was 1. They had 20 showings. So the point is, when you're dealing with the specific client who's bidding on that house,
Sure.
or more importantly, when you're communicating with the other agent, you can't communicate with everybody the same. Not one size fits all.
It's true.
Some sellers might need occupancy. They might need to stay in the home longer.
Yeah.
Some might need to close quick.
True.
So it's 100% you're right.
True.
It's all about customization and figuring out what can you do to help them accomplish their goals.
Absolutely.
Even if they're not my client, I'm representing the buyer.
Absolutely.
What could we do to structure our offer to make sure the seller is happy enough to take our offer?
Absolutely.
It's not about us. It's about them.
Sure.
Always.
Yeah.
Now going back, so you got a little bit into wills and trusts and that.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, you can charge a premium, which you're very fairly priced, but it doesn't matter because you focus just on that.
Correct.
Going back into your career, when did you find out you wanted to focus on such a niche that not many people do?
That's a great question. So when I first started out, I was working as in-house counsel for a healthcare organization for about, maybe I would say, year and a few months. And then, I decided, let's just say, I kind of wanted to do my own thing. And by my own thing, not selfishly saying that I can't work under anyone or for somebody. No, it's almost because it was like depending on yourself. Now, what people don't know is I lacked a lot of confidence. And even throughout my whole life, I've always gave other people more of the edge over me and being in a certain circumstance, right? No, you're better than me. Oh my God, like what am I going to do? Like this guy's better than me. And translated to every facet of my life, right? And then so I thought to myself, I said, when it was time for me to go on my own and decided I want to do it on my own, was I confident enough to take that leap? I mean, it's scary. I mean, you've done it.
It is.
You know what I mean? You've done it. So it's like taking that step, taking that risk, knowing that, okay, I got a job and then now I decided to go off on my own and, where am I going to get money from? Am I going to make money? Am I going to be able to accomplish my goals? Is this going to be a setback? I mean, I graduated, at 24 as an attorney. I was licensed then, but,
That's young.
by 26, I was broke. You know what I mean? I didn't have a penny, almost like literally almost nothing to my name. And this was when I was off on my own and starting my own practice. And it came to a point where, I remember one time I went to an event, and this was when I first started my career. And I have to give my dad a lot of credit because he pushed me to go to a lot of different events to get my name out there. And so this was when I first started out in 2016, where I was kind of under the radar, left my other job, and I was like, okay, I want to go off on my own. And somebody there, like I knew this person, and he's like, what are you doing right now career-wise and stuff like that? I'm like, oh, I'm starting my own law practice. He goes, no, you need to go get a real job, And I was like, man, okay, thanks for the encouragement. But, you give people the benefit of the doubt. Sure, maybe he just meant it in more of a, hey, get some more security type of thing. And it's fine, right? And so I tried reaching out, and things just didn't work out. So I was like, okay, it's time for me. I mean, other people can do it. Why not give it a shot?
Sorry to interrupt you. You tried reaching out to other
firms to try to see if I can, get jobs. And there was like smaller opportunities here, but it wasn't the right opportunity. And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, let's depend on myself. Although I may not have had the confidence in myself completely, but I knew that I could depend on myself, and I knew I had discipline, efficiency, and focus like no other. Those are the qualities I was confident in. I wasn't confident in myself overall compared to other people, but I was confident in the qualities that I had to get me to my goal. So that's where I started just focusing, taking classes, networking to try to meet mentors. And I was able, all glory to God, I was able to connect with some very, very, very beneficial people that allowed me to accelerate my career. And although I did it on my own, I definitely received help in the process, and I give a lot of credit to, those mentors that surrounded me, that
100%.
allowed me the opportunities and that gave me, a little bit more acceleration, whether it's from my family, my dad, my mom, my sister, my wife now, or, my coaching like Master Ali Kubasi, or, my mentors, few people in the industry that, and a lot of people as well in the community who believed in me and who trusted me. And that was the main thing. So
You mentioned mentors. Mentors it's key. It's like someone does something for 30 years, and if you just follow them, the mistakes they made over 30 years, you can cut down to 5.
that's actually a great point you bring up. So when I was under the radar that 2016 year, and I was trying to study the area, and you asked me like, how did I get into like estate planning or probate or go on my own? I remember my aunt called me one time. She goes, Hameed, do you do wills? And this was during the transition where I left my other job, and now I'm kind of like figuring out what I want to specialize in. And I said, you know what? I said, that's an area that I actually have interest in. Like, I like more transactional, meeting with people, talking to people, getting to know them, getting to know their goals. It's a lot of sensitive information, and the fact that they trust me with it gives me great pride to keep that trust for them, right? And then, so I ended up, saying, let me, look into it for you. I ended up, obviously, she was like my first client, and she'll tell you. So I'm not divulging client confidentiality. She'll tell you guys. It's public record for her, okay? But I ended up, setting up her plan, and from there on, it kind of said, okay. I kind of said, okay, this is the niche that I want to go into. I like estate planning. I like probate. I don't deal with contested matters, so I'm not really too
You don't
big
like to
on
argue.
litigation. I mean, there's a time and a place for it, and just for me, I would prefer not to because I'm more transactional.
Right.
Right. I like to meet with people, understand their goals, get their plan
Two
taken
completely
care of.
different.
It's completely different, right? And then and I like more of the friendly approach. Not to say that I can't do litigation. I dabbled in a little bit of it. And it just wasn't my thing.
It's
right?
not your
So it
interest.
just wasn't my interest. So then I went under the radar, studied, got that going, and one of the people that I met with was somebody who had 30 years of experience in estate planning. And I remember after maybe 4 or 5 months of kind of studying on my own to try to figure out, do I like this, area and whatnot, I met with him, and I told him, I started bringing up certain concepts, kind of like what you mentioned, like 30 years in the game, and you can kind of narrow it down to learning it in maybe a few years instead, right? Because you can avoid the mistakes and whatnot. As soon as I started bringing up some terms to him, estate planning and whatnot, he's like, whoa, son. He was an older gentleman. He said, hey, man, my clientele doesn't even get into this type of area of estate planning and whatnot. And I said, wow, being in the game for 30 years and calling yourself an estate planning attorney for 30 years, these are concepts that, you should at least have an understanding of, or to give your, clients the best type of representation. So experience doesn't always mean it's the right experience, right? And so a lot of times, people look at you like one of the first things they say to me when they walk in is into a meeting is they say, oh my God, you're so young. Or they used to tell it to me, at least back then, got some grays.
You
now.
were 24.
So, back then, so it was like, then when I went off on my own, I was like 26 at the time. So they're like, oh mate, you're so young. And I used to always have to say every time I accumulated more years under my belt, oh, I have 5 years of experience, or this is all I specialize in. I always have, and I feel like to this day, I still justify myself. And they say, oh, you're so young. I thought you were much older, and I see you here and I see you there. You look much. I said, I have 10 years of experience, but to realize like years of experience doesn't mean it's the right experience either, right? So it's like you have to have somebody that has the right experience. I mean, he could be young, but he could be hungrier than somebody who's older, right? He could be more ambitious. He could hustle harder, right? So it's just all about finding the right person. You know what I mean? I mean, nobody's ever come to me and said, where did you go to law school? And never follow up with me. But they hear your reputation. That's what's most important. And then they want to meet with you, and then they feel comfortable with you. Then they'll be willing to pretty much, take your advice and, set up their goals or whatever it is, or, sell their house or be able to purchase a house. And I mean, that's also it's an extremely competitive environment that you guys are in as well too. But it's also, you hear the horror stories as well, right? So you have to, you find somebody like you who has an amazing reputation, and congratulations on growing your team as well too. That's awesome. And you're one of my mentors and role models as well too. You know what I mean? And you're 5 years younger than me, but I don't look at it like that, right? Because I look at it like, let me surround myself with people who can also motivate me. And the beautiful thing about like you and I or other people that, we're very close with and like our group is, it's not just, oh, he has this and I don't have this. And it's zero. There's zero envy,
None,
zero
ever,
jealousy. It's
ever.
always, let's uplift each other. As a matter of fact, let's motivate each other. Let's try to get each other better. And when you see somebody who's doing great, it's like, hey man, teach me some of the qualities that it took you to get to that point, because I would love to reach that in my industry, in my field. And that's what I feel as a community we don't do enough of, and is uplift each other, right? I think that's something we need to work on as well too, is saying, hey, listen, okay, of course, competition, everybody wants to, fair, right? From a business perspective, I get it, right? I mean, hey, I fall into that as well too, but as long as you don't let it get to a point where you're envious, you're jealous, it's because you just focus on yourself. When you focus on yourself, you really kind of block out that external noise. I know it's easier said than done, but it's just a mental habit of just, hey, let me focus on myself. Everything will be okay. Because at the end of the day,
at the end of the day,
it's just about you anyway.
100%. And one thing we learned at Keller Williams, and Mike does a great job of implementing it, is abundance. And I say it all the time. Just because someone does $1 million in sales, or 10 million, or $1 billion in sales, that does not affect anything that I'm capable of. Everyone could be successful.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I think our generation is getting a lot better, especially our inner circle.
Sure.
We all give to each other. We all, give advice.
Absolutely.
Help each other, give our point of view, and it really uplifts each other. They always say you never want to be the smartest person in a room.
Exactly.
When we're hanging out with our friends, I don't think I'm ever the smartest person in the room.
Same here. That's the beautiful thing about it. That's what I encourage people to do, is just find that circle that is going to help you win, literally, like winner's circle, right? Like find that circle that's going to help you win. I mean, and surround yourself with those individuals who are like-minded, who have the same ambitious, same goals, or have goals or ambitions that are even more than yours. So that way you can get to that point as well too, not by envy or jealousy, but by the fact of mere motivation.
Motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's contagious.
Big time.
You are who you surround yourself around. And I think we do a great job of surrounding ourselves around individuals who are goal-oriented, like you said, like-minded individuals. And it's going back, though, to, you said 2016, you went away for a year. So when you said you were 26 years old and you were still young, what did you do that year, for a whole year, before you got into probates and estates?
So what I did was, that's where I started to network more in the community. And it was an election year, and there were a lot of events that were happening. So I was able to go from event to event, make sure I networked with individuals and told people what it is that I was planning on doing. Now, the reason why I hit under the radar is that I didn't want to be that guy who, the moment that I went off on his own, just said, I'm ready to practice estate planning and probate. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but just my perspective, like I said, I lacked that confidence, right? I wanted to make sure that I was confident enough. Now, you're never going to be confident. You're never going to be ready. That's the challenge. You just have to just do it, right? I remember you told me some great advice when I was, getting into a business, and I called you and I said, hey, what should I do in this case? You said, Hameed, the best advice I can give you is don't think about it. Signed the lease, and I didn't think about it. That's it. And then I had to make moves. That's it. I signed the lease. It was too late at that point in time, right? As long as you have a calculated mindset as to where your goals are, right? You're diving into something you feel like will give you a good opportunity. You just have to do it. And I was always that guy who was told what to do and followed it. And I was good at following directions and having that discipline. But to do it on my own, like to take that leap, I went to law school. I was able to do things, sporting wise and stuff like that on my own. And of course, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about having the guts to be able to say, hey, let's just not take your normal, typical, job or corporate job or legal job and do something that you're depending solely on yourself. And at the end of the day, you trust in yourself, and that's what matters. So it was a leap of faith, and I was able to do so. That 2016 year was just me finding myself, me learning the area, me preparing myself, and then towards the end of the year, beginning of 2017 is where I said, okay, I'm now ready to officially market to everybody, saying this is what I do, and I'm ready for this, right? I remember I had one of my first clients. He was so kind enough to allow me to adjust his plan and take my time because I was going through that transition. I didn't want to lose out on that client, but and I spent, I think it was almost 2 months or so, just trying to, maybe even longer, maybe 3 months, trying to figure out and I changed his plan 15 times as I learned more and more and more, to a point where I was finally ready to kind of say, okay, you know what I mean? I got my feet wet, and I thank that guy. Obviously, privileged information, can't name it, but I don't even think he knows it because I didn't tell him. I just told him I was in a transition.
Yeah.
It just worked out, and
But
that's where I
in
got my confidence.
in any business or any career, like you look back at those
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years ago,
yeah.
and you
For
were
sure.
and there's so much you learned in those
Yeah.
deals or those transactions,
Absolutely.
and you're so thankful for those people who put
Absolutely.
their trust in you
Yeah.
because they trusted you as a person.
Correct.
And they knew you wouldn't do them wrong, which
Absolutely.
is 90% of why people trust you.
That's a good point.
And
That's
like,
actually very true.
I mean,
That's
that
very true.
especially in your field.
Correct.
I would, if I had to sign something that you
Yeah.
told me to sign with my eyes closed, I
Yeah.
wouldn't question it. So not only
Thank
do you have the trust because you
Yeah.
have the integrity, you studied for 1 year to become an expert.
Yeah.
You didn't really delve into that enough
Yeah.
because you're humble, but that takes a lot. You
Yeah.
didn't take on clients until you were ready, until you were an expert. And I tell people who get into real estate,
Yeah.
the second they get their license, they start advertising. If you're looking to buy or sell, like you should study, find a
Correct.
mentor, hire a coach,
Correct.
join a team,
Absolutely.
get to know how to do things the right way.
Yeah.
So you're going to make mistakes. That's
Of course,
fine.
of
But at
course.
least you have someone to back you up and say, whether it's in law or in real estate or in
Yep.
business,
Yeah.
you can lean on
Yeah.
someone. If you make that mistake, how can
Yeah.
I not make this mistake again?
Of course. And that's one of the challenges, right? You feel like, oh, am I capable of doing these things? I mean, I remember one time when I got into estate planning, and I after 4 or 5 months of studying it, I took these courses. I got these, CLE credits and all that stuff. So I met with one of my mentors, and he was a very well-known estate planning attorney in Birmingham, and he does a lot of asset protection and whatnot. And I met with him, and I took a client's file there to help me, understand it. And he went through it in a few minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a 90-page trust. Like, it took me like, a couple hours to read through it. He went and literally sift through it in a few minutes. And then he started bringing up all these concepts and stuff like that. And that was the first time I ever took a look at a trust, right? And I hear about the concept of it, and I was trying to study it. And then, I got discouraged, and I said, oh my God, I actually thought I know some stuff, and I clearly don't know enough, right? The more you know, the more you know, the more you realize you need to learn more, right? So he's like, look, I'm not trying to discourage you, I'm just trying to motivate you. This is what you have to do, right? And so I said, you know what, either I can just do some aspects of estate planning, maybe do some wills, some powers of attorney, get into probate. I'll leave the trusts alone. We'll leave them for the other guys and stuff like that. Or I said, you know what? No, let me get into that as well too. So then I started saying, no, let's hone into this as well. So I wanted to be a complete estate planning attorney when it comes to being able to set up your plan, to help, give you the proper advice, you know what I mean? And also I do probate as well too. Now, obviously there's certain areas that, you have other people that you work with and stuff like that, but I'm talking about just at least setting up your plan in place. I wanted to know that from A to Z and all the concepts and understand it. So I didn't get discouraged. I just said, you know what, let's just push through. And I ended up, getting to where I'm at today, you know what I mean? With that mindset, right?
So you're very, from me knowing you personally and from knowing your story, from you getting into law school and then wanting to do a specific thing and going a year without working just so you can study it, so you actually provide value once you got into it. Sure. You're very disciplined, you're very structured. You want to go back to not work.
Yeah.
You were like number one, like I think like in the world in Taekwondo, if I remember correctly. Because you used to come to Lava, right? And I was managing.
Yeah.
And I used to think, Hameed used to walk into the door. I'm like, man, this guy's better than security.
No, man, get out of here.
Let someone come try. Someone's going to try to take the cash register. Hameed Dakroub's
no
here.
way.
But in all seriousness, could we, off of law, which thank you, is actually very, very good information. But before that, and currently, you were very big in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
What age did you start Taekwondo?
I started it at about 5 years old. And so I've been doing it about 28 years now.
Wow.
Going into 29 years of it, I believe. And it's been fun. It's one of those things where I actually didn't like it growing up. My dad forced me to do it. And for my first 12 years of my life, I hated it. I was embarrassed of it.
Really?
I never liked to talk about it because people would make fun of me and say, oh, well, do you karate chop people? No, I've never karate chopped somebody in my life. Like, who does that? You know what I mean? No. So it wasn't until I was 17 years old, I had like a big tournament and I did well. And I stopped and I said, man, You
17.
at 17
So
years old.
usually people have their love for their sport in middle school and high school. It took you
Yeah.
17.
It took me until I was 17 years old, and then I said, man, you didn't really train as much as you could have. And I found a newfound appreciation for the sport and a new love for it. And then that was the time where my dad said, all right, well, you can quit if you want to quit now. I was like, you know what? No, this is where I want to go ahead. Because he used to hustle me. I used to get the brown belt. Oh, I hated it, right? And he's like, wait till you get to red belt. Got the red belt. All right, Dad. Oh, you're almost at black. Just get the black. Got the black belt. And he's like, no, you know what I mean? So he just I'll give him credit though. You know what I mean? So he definitely, kept me in it. But the discipline that it taught me, translated into my career 100% because the focus, the drive, and the fact that I want to get better and to train, and then it allowed me to stay focused on what I'm doing. I mean, I think I would say one of my favorite qualities or qualities of an individual that I respect so much, number one is being humble, right? But also number two is being efficient, right? And efficiency comes with discipline, of course, as well too, right? But like being efficient, I do not waste 1 minute of my day where I could be doing something to benefit like work, right? So like from the moment I get up to the moment I'm done, let's just say with my day, every minute is important to me. So if there's a task that needs to be done, I don't procrastinate. I'm on it. I don't care if it takes me a while. If it's something that comes in, I'm doing it. I'm getting back to that phone call. I think sometimes we get a bad rep in our field, specifically estate planning, or sorry, specifically as an attorney, but also as a real estate agent as well too. At times where hey, they tell you when you're getting into the business, don't return a phone call back. Give it a few hours, give it a day. Let them know that you're busy, right? Make them wait for you, and
that's the worst advice ever.
And I heard that multiple times, and I felt like when I never did that intentionally, but when I would unintentionally do that, because my estate planning consultations, sometimes they last quite a bit, right? I mean, they can last sometimes either a half hour or an hour and a half, right? And so, I mean, when I get out and I have calls to get back to, sometimes if I get back to somebody telling me, well, I went somewhere else. So that mentality of saying, like, kind of showing that you're like too busy for people, that's like the complete opposite of me. Yes, of course I'm busy. I'm extremely busy. I mean, everyone's busy. I'm not the only one who's busy. But if you notice, all the really busy people or all the really successful people, they get back to people right away. And it's not yet quick, whether it's like, I mean, I'm not saying like that second, but like they don't procrastinate it for days to wait to get back to you. No, because that shows the discipline of what they do throughout their normal day-to-day lives, because they have tasks and they have to check those tasks off, right? And getting back to people is one of those important tasks. And so it's one of those things to where I never believed in that. I always believed that if a call comes in, I can answer the phone. I'll answer. Some people are like, oh, is this the lawyer? I'm like, yeah, hi, how can I help? Like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And like sometimes they get surprised by that. I mean, hey, listen, everybody has their own way of doing things, but I found, hey, let's be efficient. Let's be disciplined. The calls are coming in. If you have the opportunity to answer it. If you don't, get back to it as soon as you're able to, right? Prioritize your task and what you have to do, of course, but at the same time, be accessible. And that's one of the things that one of my mentors taught me. He said, listen, man, you have to be accessible to people. You have to, people have to be able to get a hold of you. They have to be able to talk to you, or at least from the perspective of being open to understanding their circumstances, right? I'm not saying answer at midnight, but what I'm saying is get back to people within a reasonable time. And I found that to be, a really positive part of, my practice, but also my personal life as well too, because it translates, from my taekwondo and being focused. And I mean, I've been in the sport for so many years that it's part of my life, right? Like I didn't, quit. I didn't stop this. I just stayed with it. Even when I wanted to, I stopped. As a matter of fact, when I found that newfound appreciation for the sport, there was a year where I lost 4 fights in a row. After I started training more and training harder, I said, oh my God, it was like 2009 and I felt like I got robbed in some of them, but let's look, the outcome was I lost, you know what I mean? And it was 4 fights in a row. I said, man, but you know what? I said, it's okay. This is part of the process. You win something. Before that, I never lost 4 fights, and oh my God, I didn't even know if I lost 4 fights in my career before that. You know what I mean? So, and I hit 4 fights in a row, and I was like, wow, what happened? Should I stop? Maybe this isn't my calling or whatnot. And I said, No, absolutely not. I just kept getting better, and I'd lose a fight. I got better, and I'd lose another fight. Got better, I'd lose another fight. To a point where 2010 came around, and every fight that I lost the year before, I went back and I beat some of the same guys who I fought before, beat them again. So I went undefeated in 2010. You know what I mean? For all the tournaments that I lost to before, but. So that was, one of the things where it's like, okay, stay focused, right? And then new challenges. And then I went to law school. And before I went to law school, I had, I had surgery on my thumb after a competition. And I went to the doctor. He looked at it. He said, oh, it's, a bad injury. He's like, what are you planning on doing? I was like almost 21 at the time. I said, oh, I'm going to start law school next year. He said, okay, cool. He's like, do you want to keep fighting? I said, yeah, of course. When I graduate, he's like, no, you're going to be too old. I'm like, dude, I'm 24 years. I'll be 24. I'll be too old. So I remember after that, and even like certain family members would be like, oh, why do you want to compete again? You're an attorney now. You know what I mean? And
it's your passion.
Yeah, it's like, why do you want to fight again? Like, forget it. Like, that's it. You're 24. You're an attorney. I kept that guy, that doctor in mind who did my surgery, and people tell me, oh, there's going to be somebody younger, 18 years old, come in and he's going to just, you don't have the same, speed, the same this and that. And I said, you know what? I don't care to prove it to you guys. It's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because you just mentioned it's my passion. I love it. Let me prove it to myself.
Right.
And I remember, I was, got back out, started training again. And then, I went to a tournament. I was able to, become number 3 in the U.S. in 2016. Yeah, it was like 2016, and then the year after, 2017, became number 2 in the U.S., right? And then when in 2002, when I was, younger, I was even like the junior Olympic champion. All that is a testament to what you mentioned before, just that discipline, being disciplined, having that focus, because that translated into my career and translated into my academics. It translated into my my entrepreneurial, ventures and everything that you do in life. You mentioned something so important. At the beginning of the conversation, you said, when you're good at one thing, when you're really good at one thing, because it's in your personality, you're generally good at a lot of things, right? And it's not like, I know my favorite quality is like being humble. I'm not this. Okay, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to just get to the point of saying that when you are focused or passionate about something, it translates into your personality, your discipline outside. So like when I'm at my house, you know what I mean? Like I have the same sort of like, hey, there's a task that needs to be done. Let's get to it. You know what I mean? There's an event that needs to go. Let's go to it. Let's structure it. So like I'm structured not just as an attorney, but as a person and as a human. And, sometimes it drives my wife crazy, but you know what I mean? That's just how it is. And I think you can probably relate to certain things where your focus and your drive and your discipline translate into other aspects of your life, which can be just beneficial as well too. So
100%. One thing you said that really stuck out to me is that you lost in 2016 to a bunch of individuals. In 2017, you went back and beat them all.
Oh, 2009 and 2010. Yeah,
I'm off on the
No,
years.
it's okay. Yeah. And I wasn't. I appreciate you saying I'm number 1 in the world. No, I wasn't. Thank you, though.
Oh, number 2?
No.
Junior Olympic?
Yeah.
It's all good.
2 in the U.S.
You're humble, so we can brag about you.
Thank you.
But goes to show you, I tell the people on my team and people I interact with and everybody in general, there's nothing, when something bad happens, there's always something to learn from it.
Absolutely.
When something bad happens, if you think, go back, if anything bad that happened, anything, what can you learn from it?
Yeah.
Whether it was in your control or not, what can you learn from that? And there's always something to learn from. So with 2009 and 2010, it wasn't 16, 17. So in 2009, you learned. You could have, and this is in business and life,
for sure.
in sports.
For sure.
You could have quit. You could have went in the corner and felt bad for yourself, but you didn't. You figured out what went wrong.
Yeah.
You fixed it. You didn't make the same mistake twice. And everyone who beat you in 2009, you beat him in 2010.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where you just have to just take every opportunity as a learning opportunity. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I was like happy and positive about it. No, I was pissed off. But I mean, things happen. But I mean, that's where you can overcome these things. I mean, even by taking all the people who told me, oh, don't go back to Taekwondo and fight. What are you going to, you're not going to be able to compete again. You're not going to do well. I mean, I wish I can go give my medals to that doctor.
Right.
I should probably pass by or like, the person who told me go find a real job. Right. You know what I mean? Or, just everybody in your life, and it's okay. I mean, don't take it personally, but just use it as motivation.
Use it as
right?
motivation.
Just use it as motivation. It is what it is.
100%.
People are going to say stuff. I mean, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Oh, maybe like you meant it this way. That's okay. But at least what are you going to do with it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the focus is on you, and then you just let people do the talking for you type of thing. So that's kind of what I set out to do.
One more thing I want to touch on that you said was people not answering their phone.
Yeah.
Ali Saad was a real estate agent, still involved in real estate. One of my mentors when I first got into the business, I told him, what's the key? He's told me 3 things. Wake up, go to work, answer your phone.
Yeah.
He said, sometimes they wake up, most of the time they go to work.
Yeah.
He said, but they don't answer their phone.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So I make it a habit to answer my phone.
Yeah.
Today, I ended a guy's call because I was on another line. I told him 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think like in 32 seconds, I called him.
Yeah.
He told me that was really 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
I told him, I told you
Yeah.
30 seconds. I'm
Yeah.
going to do my best to call you in 30
Exactly,
seconds.
exactly.
Like, did I get another call after that? Yes,
Yeah,
it was
of
a busy day, but
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think he would have been impressed with me if I called him back a day later. I think
Sure.
that's the most overrated because I've heard that too.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
Yeah,
But
I agree with you, man. You hit it right on that. You hit the nail on the head on that one. Like, my thing is like here's how I look at it as well too. Not just from the standpoint of being accessible and just getting back to people and just, hey, people are calling you, answer them. You know what I mean? You're not better than anyone. I'm not better than anyone.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's just like, hey, listen, like, I'm just, hustling every day as well, like the same way you are, the same way anybody is, right? But the idea is just to get back to people, talk to people, just make sure you're accessible. And also at the same time, just make sure that you build that reputation that, you can be proud of, but that people can be proud of you as well too for that. And that goes a long way as well. Because at the end of the day, my industry is, being in the legal profession, it's all about reputation based, right? I mean, if I didn't have a great reputation, it's gonna be more of a struggle. So,
people won't trust you blindly.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of the terminology you use is very foreign to most people. It's like a different language.
Sure.
They don't understand
100%.
it. So when I did my trust with you,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember some of the things, but I don't. I just said, hey, man,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll trust you.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Tell me where to sign.
Yeah.
Tell me where this goes, where that goes, where that goes. Other than that, I trust you. Use the language, but you have a good reputation.
Thank you.
And it speaks for itself.
Thank you so much.
But so we learned about Hameed in California,
Yes.
back to Michigan, California, back to Michigan,
Yeah.
law school.
Yeah.
I think we learned a lot of number 1 Taekwondo, number 2 Taekwondo in the world.
US.
I think in the U.S. Didn't they do Taekwondo outside the U.S.?
They do.
It's all right. We won't tell anyone they do. But so we learned a lot. Thank you for joining us. Hameed, you're the man.
Nama, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all your success as well.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed episode 4 of the Realtors Roundtable. If you liked it, thank you. Please like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, thank you. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. See you next time.